Ladies and gentlemen, in life we will all encounter people and situations that have the potential to trigger our anger. Whether it's a disagreement, a misunderstanding, or someone's actions that irritate us, the emotional response to these experiences is often automatic. However, the good news is that we have the power to control how we react. We are not slaves to our emotions. We have the ability to rise above them. The key to living a life of peace and tranquility, untouched by the chaos around us, lies in mastering how we respond to the people and situations that could otherwise upset us. One of the most important truths you must understand is that your emotions are yours to control. No one can make you angry unless you give them permission to. You hold the power over your feelings, and the moment you acknowledge this, you begin to reclaim control over your emotional responses. Most people live their lives on autopilot, reacting impulsively to every little thing that triggers their emotions. The key to breaking free from this cycle is self-awareness. When you become aware of your emotional triggers, you can stop yourself from reacting impulsively. Instead of letting anger or frustration take the lead, pause and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is this response helping me or hurting me? Mastering your emotions requires practice and discipline. You must commit to being emotionally responsible. This means acknowledging when you're upset, taking a deep breath, and choosing a thoughtful response rather than an impulsive one. It's not about suppressing your feelings, but about not letting those feelings control you. Many times we become angry or upset because of how we perceive a situation. The way we interpret events can either fuel our frustration or calm us down. When someone cuts you off in traffic or makes a rude comment, your first instinct may be to react with anger. But what if, instead of viewing the situation as an attack on you, you saw it from a different angle? Perhaps the person who cut you off was in a rush due to an emergency. Maybe the rude comment was made out of insecurity or frustration they are experiencing in their own life. When you shift your perspective, you begin to realize that the actions of others often have little to do with you and more to do with their own struggles or experiences. By changing the lens through which you view others' actions, you become less reactive and more thoughtful. Rather than allowing their behavior to dictate your emotional state, you choose to stay calm, compassionate, and understanding. Set boundaries and maintain respect. To never get angry or bothered with anyone, it's essential to establish clear boundaries. Many times we get upset because people are overstepping our personal limits, either intentionally or unintentionally. By setting healthy boundaries, you can safeguard your peace of mind and prevent unnecessary conflict. Boundaries are not about building walls, but about maintaining respect for yourself and others. When you respect your own limits, others will naturally learn to respect them as well. For example, if someone's behavior is continuously disrespectful or hurtful, it's okay to distance yourself from that individual or communicate how their actions make you feel. When you assertively communicate your boundaries, you protect your emotional well-being while still showing respect for others. Remember, healthy boundaries allow you to preserve your inner peace and prevent anger from taking root. Setting boundaries is not about being confrontational. It's about protecting the space where your emotional stability resides. One of the most powerful tools in preventing anger is the act of forgiveness. Holding on to anger or resentment only harms you. It doesn't change the past, and it doesn't punish the other person. Forgiveness frees you from the emotional burden that comes with holding grudges. When someone wrongs you, it's easy to justify your anger by telling yourself that you're right and they're wrong. But the truth is, holding on to that anger only keeps you trapped in the past. Forgiveness is not a favor to the person who hurt you. It is a gift you give to yourself. By letting go of resentment, you release the emotional chains that tie you to negative feelings, giving yourself the freedom to move forward in peace. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you condone bad behavior. It simply means that you are choosing not to let their actions dictate your emotional well-being. In forgiving, you free yourself from being bothered by what others do or say. To live a life free from unnecessary anger or frustration, the first step is understanding that emotions are not external forces that control you, but internal responses that you have full authority over. Too often people blame others or external circumstances for how they feel. We think that person made me angry or that situation upset me, but the truth is no one can make you feel a certain way unless you choose to allow it. Emotions are not forces beyond your control. They are personal reactions that come from within. Mastering your emotions starts with this fundamental realization: you are in control. When you recognize that your emotional reactions are your responsibility, you empower yourself to choose how you respond to life's challenges. The key to emotional mastery is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending you don't care. It's about understanding that you have the power to choose your response, regardless of what happens around you. The first step toward emotional mastery is self-awareness. You need to be aware of what triggers your emotions. People, situations, and experiences all have the potential to affect your emotional state. If you are not aware of what makes you angry, frustrated, sad, or anxious, you will continuously be caught off guard by these emotions. However, if you take the time to reflect on your emotional responses, you can begin to recognize patterns in your behavior. Once you are aware of your emotional triggers, the next step is choosing your response. Emotional reactions are often automatic. You feel something and immediately react without thinking. For example, when someone criticizes you, the instinct may be to defend yourself or retaliate. But this knee-jerk reaction often leads to regret or further conflict. Instead of reacting, try to pause for a moment, take a deep breath, step back, and ask yourself, is this situation worth my emotional energy? Is my response helping me or hurting me? One of the most powerful tools in mastering your emotions is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, paying attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment. When you are mindful, you become more aware of the emotions rising within you and are better able to make intentional choices about how to respond. Instead of allowing a situation or another person to dictate how you feel, mindfulness helps you maintain a sense of inner peace and stability no matter what is happening around you. Another essential aspect of mastering emotions is emotional regulation. Emotions, like waves in the ocean, rise and fall. Just because you feel angry, upset, or frustrated doesn't mean you need to act on those feelings. Emotional regulation is about giving yourself permission to feel your emotions without letting them control your actions. It's the ability to pause and allow yourself time to process what you're feeling before deciding how to respond. In practice, this might mean stepping away from a heated conversation, taking a walk, or engaging in an activity that helps you calm down. Over time, as you consistently practice self-awareness, mindfulness, and emotional regulation, you will find that your emotional responses become more measured and controlled. You will stop being swept away by the tide of your emotions and will instead become the one who decides how to navigate life's emotional currents. This self-mastery will not only help you stay calm in the face of adversity, but will also lead to greater inner peace, healthier relationships, and a more fulfilling life. Emotional mastery also requires empathy. It's important to recognize that people act based on their own emotions, circumstances, and experiences. When someone is rude or inconsiderate, they are often dealing with their own struggles. Understanding that their behavior is a reflection of their own emotional state and not a personal attack on you allows you to respond with compassion instead of anger. This shift in perspective frees you from reacting emotionally as you begin to recognize that their actions are more about them than about you. Ultimately, mastering your emotions is a journey of personal growth. It takes patience, self-discipline, and consistent effort. However, the rewards are immense. When you are in control of your emotions, you are in control of your life. You no longer allow others or external situations to disturb your peace. You are the calm in the storm, the one who remains steady and composed regardless of what life throws at you. This emotional mastery brings peace, clarity, and strength, empowering you to navigate life's challenges with grace and confidence. One of the most powerful tools we possess in life is the ability to change how we view the world around us. The way we perceive situations, people, and challenges determines how we react to them. Our perspective shapes not only our emotional state, but also the direction of our actions. In the face of adversity, frustration, or anger, the ability to shift our perspective can completely transform our experience and ultimately our response. At the core of shifting your perspective is the realization that your perception is not reality. It is merely your interpretation of reality. We are all uniquely influenced by our backgrounds, beliefs, experiences, and emotions, which means that two people can face the same situation and respond completely differently. A person who views a challenge as an obstacle may feel defeated and overwhelmed, while another who sees the same challenge as an opportunity for growth may feel empowered and inspired. The first step in shifting your perspective is awareness. It's crucial to recognize that how you perceive a situation is not always the truth of the situation. Often we get caught up in our own biases, judgments, and emotions, which distort the way we interpret events. When you find yourself becoming frustrated, angry, or upset, take a step back and ask yourself, is this how I'm truly seeing the situation? Or is this influenced by my emotions, past experiences, or assumptions? For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, your initial reaction might be anger or frustration. You may feel disrespected or inconvenienced. However, what if you paused for a moment and shifted your perspective? What if instead of seeing this person as inconsiderate, you considered the possibility that they might be rushing to an important meeting, or perhaps they are going through a personal crisis? In any case, follow your gut instinct. In this moment, by choosing to alter your view, you can release the anger and frustration that would have otherwise consumed you. Another essential aspect of shifting your perspective is reframing. Reframing involves changing the way you interpret a situation in order to view it in a more positive or empowering light. For example, a failure at work could initially feel like a setback or a blow to your self-esteem. But when you shift your perspective and reframe the experience, you might see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. Failure is not a permanent reflection of your abilities. It is simply a lesson, a stepping stone on your path to success. Reframing situations in this way helps to reduce negative emotions and fosters a sense of hope and resilience. In shifting your perspective, empathy plays a crucial role. Often, we become upset with others because we do not understand their motivations or struggles. When someone says something hurtful or acts in a way that irritates us, it's easy to jump to conclusions or take it personally. However, if you step into their shoes and consider their circumstances, perhaps they are dealing with stress, pain, or uncertainty, you can develop a deeper understanding. This doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it allows you to view the situation with more compassion rather than anger. Furthermore, shifting your perspective often requires embracing uncertainty and flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and the more rigid we become in our thinking, the more likely we are to be disappointed or frustrated when things don't go as planned. When we hold on to fixed expectations, we limit ourselves to seeing only one possible outcome. But when we open our minds and allow for alternative possibilities, we free ourselves from frustration and disappointment. For example, a change in plans might feel like a setback, but when you shift your perspective, you might see it as an unexpected opportunity or a new path leading to a better outcome. Another critical element of shifting your perspective is focusing on gratitude. When we find ourselves feeling irritated or overwhelmed by life's challenges, we often overlook the many blessings we have. Shifting your perspective by choosing to focus on gratitude changes your outlook. Instead of dwelling on what's gratitude has the power to shift your mindset from a scarcity mentality, where you focus on what you don't have, to an abundance mindset where you appreciate everything that's already present in your life. By cultivating this mindset, you begin to see the world as full of possibility rather than limitation. Shifting your perspective is also about letting go of the need for control. Often we become upset when things don't unfold according to our expectations or desires. We want to dictate how our lives should go and get frustrated when reality doesn't match our vision. However, life is inherently uncertain and unpredictable. By accepting that we cannot control everything, we free ourselves from the constant battle against the flow of life. This acceptance allows us to release stress and frustration, opening up the space to experience life as it is: beautiful, imperfect, and ever-changing. Lastly, self-reflection is essential in the process of shifting your perspective. Taking time to reflect on your thoughts and emotions allows you to gain insight into why you may be perceiving things in a certain way. Are your perceptions influenced by past experiences, fears, or insecurities? Are you projecting your own frustrations onto others? When you reflect on these questions, you can identify where your perspective may need adjusting and make conscious decisions to view situations differently. By shifting your perspective, you begin to see life through a lens of empowerment, growth, and resilience. When you choose to change the way you view people, situations, and challenges, you unlock the ability to navigate life's ups and downs with calm, clarity, and confidence. Setting boundaries is one of the most essential aspects of leading a balanced and healthy life. Boundaries define where one person ends and another begins, and they establish the limits of how others can treat you. Without clear boundaries, we become susceptible to emotional exhaustion, burnout, and unnecessary conflict. Boundaries are not about building walls between you and others. Rather, they are about preserving your emotional, mental, and physical well-being while maintaining healthy relationships. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing your needs and limits. Everyone has a different tolerance for what they can handle, whether it's in relationships, work, or personal life. To set effective boundaries, you must first understand what is acceptable for you and what isn't. Are there certain behaviors, requests, or environments that make you uncomfortable or drained? What kind of treatment or actions do you need in order to feel respected and valued? Identifying these limits, you give yourself permission to protect your peace and well-being. Once you understand your limits, the next step is communicating your boundaries clearly. It's essential to be direct and assertive in expressing your needs to others. Often people avoid setting boundaries because they fear conflict or rejection. But when you do not communicate your needs, others are left unaware of what is acceptable. Boundaries can be communicated in both small and large ways. Whether it's saying no to a request, asking for personal space, or voicing your feelings in a relationship. Be honest, respectful, and firm in your communication, but also recognize that others may not always immediately understand or agree with your boundaries. That's okay. Setting boundaries is ultimately about protecting yourself, not about pleasing others. As you set your boundaries, maintaining respect is crucial. Respect is the foundation upon which boundaries are built. Just as you communicate your boundaries with respect, it's also essential to honor the boundaries of others. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, which means you listen to and honor what others need in order to feel comfortable. When we fail to respect the boundaries of others, we risk damaging relationships, creating tension, and eroding trust. If you find that someone is pushing against your boundaries, it's important to reaffirm them while maintaining your respect for the other person. In the process of maintaining boundaries, there will inevitably be moments when others test or challenge them. This is where consistency becomes a key element. Boundaries need to be enforced regularly to be effective. If you allow people to cross your boundaries without consequence, they will not take them seriously. For example, if you've set a boundary about not answering work emails after hours, but continue to respond to them, you send the message that your boundary isn't firm. Consistency is not about being rigid, but about showing others that your boundaries are important and that you value yourself enough to maintain them. Boundaries are not only about protecting yourself from negative influences, but also about creating space for self-care. When you set boundaries, you make room for the activities, people, and moments that nurture your well-being. For example, saying no to commitments that drain your energy allows you to say yes to the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. Self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary for sustaining your energy and health. When you honor your own needs, you are better able to give to others without feeling depleted or resentful. As you set and maintain boundaries, it's also essential to acknowledge the emotional responses that may arise. Setting boundaries can sometimes trigger feelings of guilt or discomfort, especially if you're not used to putting yourself first. It's important to understand that these feelings are natural, but they should not stop you from asserting your needs. If someone reacts negatively to your boundaries, remember that it's their responsibility to handle their emotions, not yours. You are not responsible for how others feel about the boundaries you set. In some cases, boundaries require negotiation and compromise. There may be situations where your needs conflict with the needs of others, and in such cases, it's important to find a middle ground. Negotiation involves understanding the needs of both parties and finding solutions that work for everyone. For instance, if a family member demands your time but you need personal space, a respectful negotiation might involve scheduling specific times to spend together while also honoring your need for time alone. Flexibility and openness to negotiation ensure that boundaries don't become rigid or unnecessarily isolating. Lastly, boundaries evolve over time. As you grow and change, so will your needs and limits. What was acceptable in the past may no longer serve you in the present. This means that your boundaries will need to adapt to reflect your current state. Regular self-reflection and assessment are crucial to understanding when it's time to redefine or strengthen your boundaries. Whether it's in response to a new job, a changing relationship, or personal growth, recognizing that boundaries are dynamic allows you to stay in tune with yourself and your needs. By setting clear boundaries and maintaining respect for both yourself and others, you create an environment where healthy relationships can thrive. Boundaries are not walls that isolate you from others. They are bridges that allow for deeper understanding, respect, and connection. When you take the time to set boundaries, communicate them clearly, and consistently uphold them, you demonstrate your commitment to self-respect and healthy, harmonious relationships. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools we possess in life, yet it is often one of the most challenging to practice. It can feel nearly impossible to let go of the hurt, anger, and betrayal caused by others, especially when those actions have deeply wounded us. However, the act of forgiveness is not only a gift we give to others, but the process of forgiveness has the power to heal emotional wounds, release resentment, and restore peace within us. To truly understand the importance of forgiveness, we must first explore what it means, why it is so difficult, and how we can begin to practice it in our own lives. Forgiveness is not about excusing or condoning the harmful actions of others. It is not about pretending that the pain or hurt never happened. Instead, forgiveness is about choosing to release the grip that anger, bitterness, and resentment have over us. It is about freeing ourselves from the emotional burden that can weigh us down and hinder our growth. When we hold on to grudges, we allow the actions of others to continue to affect us long after the event has passed. This can lead to chronic stress, anxiety, and even physical health problems. Forgiveness, on the other hand, allows us to regain control of our emotions and restore a sense of inner peace. The first step in practicing forgiveness is acknowledging the pain. Often we try to avoid or suppress the hurt caused by others because confronting it feels too overwhelming. However, before we can forgive, we must allow ourselves to fully feel the emotions tied to the offense. This may involve grieving the loss, expressing our anger, or feeling the sadness that comes with betrayal. It is essential to honor these emotions as they are a natural part of the healing process. Only when we acknowledge the pain can we begin to process it and move toward forgiveness. Next, understanding the perspective of the other person is an important aspect of forgiveness. While this does not justify their actions, it can help us to gain empathy and compassion. People act from their own wounds, fears, insecurities, and experiences. Sometimes the harm they cause is a reflection of their own internal struggles rather than a personal attack on us. When we take the time to consider the other person's point of view, we can release the desire for revenge or punishment. This doesn't mean that we excuse the wrong done to us, but it allows us to recognize that people are often acting from a place of pain, even if their actions are hurtful. One of the biggest barriers to forgiveness is holding on to the belief that the other person must apologize or change before we can forgive. Many people feel that forgiveness is contingent upon the other person's remorse, but this creates a power imbalance where our peace is dependent on someone else's actions. True forgiveness comes from within, and it is a choice we make for our own healing. We do not forgive because the other person deserves it. We forgive because we deserve to be free from the emotional burden of resentment. The act of forgiveness is about reclaiming our peace, regardless of whether or not the other person acknowledges their wrongs. Releasing the need for control is another vital part of the forgiveness process. When we hold on to anger and resentment, we are essentially giving the person who hurt us power over our emotions and our peace of mind. We are allowing their actions to dictate how we feel and how we live. Forgiveness is a way of taking back that power. It is about letting go of the need for justice on our own terms and trusting that in time the universe will restore balance. When we forgive, we release our grip on the situation and allow ourselves to move forward without the heavy burden of resentment. A crucial element of forgiveness is self-forgiveness. We often focus on forgiving others, but it is just as important to forgive ourselves for the mistakes and decisions we've made. Many of us hold on to guilt, shame, or regret for past actions, believing that we are unworthy of peace or happiness. Self-forgiveness is about accepting our flaws, learning from our experiences, and releasing the weight of self-judgment. I say, when we forgive ourselves, we allow ourselves the freedom to grow and evolve. This in turn helps us to extend forgiveness to others more easily. Forgiveness is a process, and it may take time. It is not something that happens overnight, and it is not always linear. Some days we may feel that we have truly forgiven, only to be triggered again by a memory or a reminder of the pain. This is a natural part of the healing journey. Forgiveness does not mean that we forget or erase the past. It means that we choose not to let the past control our present. Each time we make the decision to forgive, we move closer to healing, even if it doesn't feel complete in the moment. In practicing forgiveness, we begin to free ourselves from the chains of anger and resentment that can keep us stuck in the past. Forgiveness opens the door to emotional healing, inner peace, and growth. It allows us to move forward with our lives unburdened by the weight of past hurts. While it may be one of the hardest things we ever do, it is also one of the most liberating. Forgiveness is an act of courage, compassion, and self-love. By practicing forgiveness, we create the space for deeper connections with others, and, most importantly, for a more peaceful and fulfilled life. Patience and self-gratitude are two foundational qualities that contribute to a life of purpose, stability, and personal growth. These traits often go hand in hand, creating a powerful synergy that allows individuals to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience. In a world that constantly demands quick results, instant gratification, and immediate action, developing patience and self-gratification and immediate action, developing patience and self-gratification has never been more important. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the pressures to hurry, but true strength lies in the ability to pause, think critically, and respond thoughtfully. Patience is often misunderstood as mere passivity or inactivity, but in reality, it's a profound act of self-discipline and wisdom. Patience means not reacting impulsively when faced with delays, frustrations, or adversity. Instead, it's about recognizing that some things are beyond our immediate control, and that rushing or reacting emotionally doesn't serve us. When we embody patience, we create space to evaluate situations clearly, make informed decisions, and avoid unnecessary conflict. It's a calm acceptance of the fact that things may not unfold as quickly or as we'd like, but that doesn't diminish the value of the journey. Self-to-sleep is equally important. It's the ability to manage one's impulses, emotions, and desires, particularly in situations where it's easy to give in to temptation or frustration. Self-to-sleep isn't about suppressing or ignoring our desires. It's about choosing not to act on them impulsively. It's the ability to stay grounded and in control even when our emotions are running high or our surroundings are chaotic. Self-control allows us to stay focused on long-term goals despite the distractions and instant pleasures that may tempt us along the way. It's about training our minds to resist what is immediately gratifying in favor of what is ultimately more fulfilling and rewarding. One key aspect of embodying patience and self-growth is understanding the bigger picture. Often, we become frustrated with delays, obstacles, or setbacks because we focus too much on the present moment. However, when we zoom out and see things from a larger perspective, we realize that many challenges are temporary and part of a greater process. The journey to success, happiness, or personal growth often requires us to face setbacks and delays with patience. In these moments, the key is to trust that the process is working in our favor and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Another crucial element is learning to respond rather than react. Reacting is often an impulsive response driven by emotion, while responding is a thoughtful choice driven by reason. In moments of frustration, anger, or disappointment, it's easy to fall into the trap of reacting impulsively. However, by practicing self-procedure, we can take a step back, breathe, and choose how to respond in a manner that aligns with our values and goals. This shift from reacting to responding requires mindfulness and emotional intelligence, and it is a vital skill that strengthens both patience and self-control. Patience and self-control are also deeply connected to the ability to delay gratification. Society today encourages immediate satisfaction, whether it's through social media, entertainment, or consumerism. However, real growth and fulfillment come from the ability to delay short-term pleasure for long-term gain. When we practice self-control, we choose to focus on activities and actions that contribute to our long-term success and happiness. This might mean prioritizing work over leisure or resisting the urge to indulge in unhealthy habits. By mastering this ability, we lay the foundation for sustained personal growth and achievement. In addition, self-awareness plays a significant role in building patience and self-control. The more we understand our triggers, tendencies, and patterns, the better we can manage our reactions. If we are aware that certain situations make us feel anxious, impatient, or impulsive, we can prepare ourselves mentally and emotionally before those situations arise. This proactive approach to managing our emotions and reactions helps to strengthen both patience and self-control, making it easier to navigate life's challenges without succumbing to frustration or hasty decisions. Finally, perseverance is another important aspect of embodying patience and self-control. It's easy to become discouraged when things aren't happening as quickly as we would like, but true growth and progress require consistent effort over time. Patience teaches us that success is rarely instantaneous, and that we must remain steadfast in our commitment to our goals, even in the face of obstacles or delays. Self-betrayal helps us resist the temptation to quit or take shortcuts. When we practice perseverance, we build both patience and self-betrayal, and over time, we begin to see the fruits of our efforts. Ultimately, embodying patience and self-control is about cultivating a mindset that values the process over the outcome, that understands that good things take time, and that recognizes the power of our choices in shaping our lives. It's about being able to stay grounded, focused, and resilient even when life challenges us. With patience and self-control, we develop the ability to stay aligned with our highest values and long-term goals, regardless of the distractions and temptations that may arise along the way. Anger often arises when things don't go as expected, or when we feel like we're not being treated the way we deserve. In these moments, patience is a virtue that can prevent an emotional outburst. Life does not always unfold according to our plans, and not everyone will treat us as we think we deserve. But when you practice patience, you are choosing to remain calm, composed, and level-headed. Self-betrayal is a muscle that can be developed over time. It involves the ability to control your reactions, even when situations are frustrating or upsetting. When you practice self-betrayal, you are able to respond with clarity and calmness, rather than allowing your emotions to spiral out of control. Patience and self-betrayal are essential in maintaining inner peace. When you exercise these qualities, you refuse to be moved by the external chaos around you. Instead, you stay grounded, composed, and in charge of your emotional state. In conclusion, the ability to never get angry or bothered by others lies in your hands. By mastering your emotions, shifting your perspective, setting boundaries, practicing forgiveness, and embodying patience and self-control, you can navigate life with peace and poise. Remember, it's not the events that cause us distress. It's how we choose to respond to them. When you take control of your emotional state, you remain untouchable by anger, frustration, or resentment. You become the master of your own peace. Choose to live a life of calmness. Choose to live a life of emotional mastery. And choose to never be bothered by the things that are beyond your control.